near the coastline, someplace under the sun.
Hey everyone, if you want to enter my giveaway contest in which I will be giving away a copy of the original soundtrack of Life is Strange, stick around until the end of the video for the details on how to enter. Empathy. Part of the reason you may cringe when you see this. Video games, the point where psychology and art meet. Hello fellow YouTubers, I'm Agent.exe. Welcome to another episode of Content Analysis, where I analyze your favorite shows, movies, and games to determine the presence of and make inferences relating to different scientific and philosophical concepts. In this episode, we are simply going to answer the question, how was Life is Weird? How was Life is Strange able to make the audience feel empathy towards its characters? Why am I asking this particular question about this specific game? Well, that's because of how the developers were able to balance the cinematic and interactive portions in this story-driven game so the player feels empathy towards the characters in the story. To describe the story concisely, Life is Strange can be described as a mix of Majora's Mask and the Butterfly Effect. The first game revolves around Max Caulfield and Chloe Price. Max and Chloe are two best friends who grew up together, only to be separated during their early teenage years. Sometime in 2008, Chloe loses her father due to a car accident with a semi-truck. Around the same time, Max moves from their hometown of Arcadia Bay, Oregon, and lives in Seattle for the next 5 years. On March 28, 2013, Rachel attends a Vortex party, and on April 22nd, she officially goes missing. On September 2nd, near the beginning of the LIS timeline, Max officially moves back to Arcadia Bay to attend Blackwell Academy. Since the story is dependent upon the player's choices, I will just tell you the story according to my playthrough. On October 7th, Max has her first vision of the tornado heading for Arcadia Bay, and later discovers her ability to reverse time. She uses that power to save Chloe from being shot by Nathan Prescott, whose family basically owns Arcadia Bay. Immediately after saving Chloe, the first time, she discovers her power to jump to a specific moment in time, then saves Chloe again. Right after the incident between Chloe and Nathan, Max reports Nathan to Principal Wells, which causes a confrontation between Max and Nathan later in the parking lot. Max is saved by both the intervention of Warren Graham, her friend and classmate, and Chloe's arrival. The two rekindle their friendship. Max gets a vision of the impending tornado heading for Arcadia Bay, and reveals to Chloe that she has powers. On October 8th, Max finds out that Kate Marsh, her fellow classmate and friend, was drugged and taken somewhere by Nathan. Afterwards, Max tests her ability to rewind time, and later that same day, Max discovers her ability to freeze time when she stops Kate from committing suicide. On October 9th, Max and Chloe break into the principal's office and discover that Nathan and David Madsen, Chloe's stepfather, are connected. This prompts Max to retrieve David's secret files, while Chloe distracts her mom, Joyce Price. David's evidence informs both Chloe and Max that Frank Bowers, the town's local street pharmacist, and Rachel had some type of relationship, which prompts both of them to confirm this by breaking into Frank's RV. After confirming that Rachel and David had a relationship, Chloe has a mental breakdown due to feeling betrayed by those she loves. Max gets dropped off by Chloe, and after arriving at her dormitory, stares at a picture of the two of them when they were younger, and travels to the date the photo was taken, which was sometime in 2008 on the day William Price, Chloe's father, dies. After Max arrives in the past, she realizes that she can travel through time via photo. Max decides to save William and alters the timeline. In October 2013 of the altered timeline, Max finds out that Chloe is not only miserable, but paralyzed due to a car accident she had in the car her parents bought her. Max travels back to 2008 and allows William to die. Max then returns to the date of October 10th, 2013, and gathers more evidence from David's locker. Max finds photos of Nathan and coordinates that were used to track several vehicles. They return to Blackwell and grab Nathan's phone and retrieve Frank's client list. With all the evidence they gathered, they deduced that Kate was taken to an underground survival bunker called the Dark Room. While in the Dark Room, Chloe and Max discover the names of the people who were abducted, like Kate and Rachel. Rachel's burial plot is revealed by one of the pictures, and the pair go to the plot and unearth her body. The confirmation of her death prompts both of them to begin a search for Nathan, but the pair get lured into a trap, where Chloe gets killed and Max is taken into the dark room by Mr. Jefferson. In the dark room, Mr. Jefferson implies that he was the mastermind behind many of the abductions of the people listed on the red binders found earlier by Max and Chloe.
Mr. Jefferson, why are you doing this?
Oh, Max. I'm so glad you asked that question. Simply put, I'm obsessed with the idea of capturing that moment innocence evolves into corruption. That shift from black to white to gray and beyond. Most models are cynical. They lose that naivete. However, some Blackwell students carry their hope and optimism with them like an aura, and those lucky few become my models.
Mr. Jefferson also reveals that Nathan was a mere underling that became a liability once he killed Rachel. Additionally, he admits he was responsible for the murder of Chloe and Nathan. To summarize the remaining events of LIS, Max uses her power to get Mr. Jefferson arrested. After succeeding, she discovers that the usage of her powers may have caused the storm. Chloe gives Max her photo of the butterfly and tells her that she needs to go back and let her die at the hands of Nathan in order to save Arcadia Bay. Max, refuses to kill Chloe and Arcadia Bay is destroyed. Also, spoiler alert, if you found yourself feeling sad or angry at any point during the telling of the story, I'll explain why this may be the case next. So what makes LIS able to connect so well with its audience and enable them to feel empathy? Starting with the story, Arcadia Bay is a small town, making it easy to get to know the characters from multiple perspectives. The characters go through different types of interactions, some positive and others negative.
You eat like a pig. Try the floor.
I was eating those beans. Are you fucking insane? I was eating those beans!
This gives the characters breadth, diversity, and heterogeneity when it comes to their human interactions, which adds to their depth of character. Unlike some games that just contain a story, LIS incorporates 3 techniques that aid the player in forming a bond with certain characters, and with the game overall, as well as increasing engagement. The game designers provide feedback immediately whenever you are faced with a challenge, like when you tried to reach for that fertilizer. They made you aware that your choices definitely had consequences and showed you those consequences at a later time, which in turn highlighted the player's importance in the game's story. These choices in game design help improve responsiveness, which increases player engagement. How does LIS help you build deep bonds with some characters? In Life is Strange, you build deeper bonds with Max's inner circle because you engaged with them not only in face-to-face conversations, but also through text. The player's ability to read Max's diary entries, which are also affected by the player's choices, adds another layer of depth to Max. Additionally, in Max's story, you get an in-depth look at Max's fears.
I wish you would have never come back to Arcadia Bay. You're the real storm.
Insecurities.
Damn, Victoria. You're a real woman. Not a little girl like Max.
I fucking love your tats, Chloe. You're so hot. I can't believe it took us so long to hook up.
And feelings of guilt during her nightmare sequence. The player and Max are confronted with the choices she made voluntarily and the ones she made due to the player's input. At the end of her sequence, she is confronted by her worst critic, Majin Max. When it comes to providing depth in character, LIS has it down pat. How many typical archetypal characters can you count? Probably very few. Even one of the antagonists, Nathan, isn't just evil for the sake of being evil, nor does he act in a predictable way. Nathan confesses the reason he acted out to Max. In the confession, he states,
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt Kate or Rachel or I didn't want to hurt anybody. Everybody used me.
And if the player read some of the documents in the dark room, it is revealed that Nathan is mentally unstable and that he isn't getting the help that he needs. LIS demonstrates that characters are capable of changing based upon players' choices. For example, Victoria actually forms a type of bond with Max.
Max, I don't hate you. I actually think you're one of the coolest people at Blackwell. Weird, but cool. You just don't know it yet. Maybe I'm jealous because you don't give a shit what anybody thinks, and I do. To be honest, Nathan has been freaking me out lately. He's not here, and I haven't seen him.
LIS allows the player to build upon previously formed bonds and gradually form new ones, which helps the player feel immersed and emotionally attached to the characters. To summarize my points, players like to feel like what they do matters, and become emotionally attached because of how much information about the characters they are given. But those aren't the only reasons, which we will get into later. A similar game that contrasts with LIS is the game Facade. For example, watch what happens when I type the following phrases at the beginning of the game.
Oh, wow, how's it going?
Adam. Hi, how are you? Oh, God, it's been such a long time.
Yeah, it's been too long. You know what? Adam, that's it. You need to leave. We'll be fine. Just go.
As you can see, it doesn't matter what I say. If the word melon is involved, it elicits a negative response, which has a negative impact on immersion. The comparison shows that input from the player has to prompt a response that makes sense in order for the player's immersion to remain intact. Of course, without immersion and more information about the characters, the likelihood of making the player feel empathy decreases. The story uses curiosity and suspense in a believable environment, with objects that can be interacted with to captivate the player. Additionally, the environment is inhabited by believable characters. Story-driven games like LIS have a story that possibly relates to something you're currently experiencing or have experienced. The story makes use of the rear exposure effect. Damn. The story makes use of the mirror exposure effect, which is the finding that individuals show an increased preference or liking for a stimulus as a consequence of repeated exposure to that stimulus. The use of this effect adds to the emotional attachment you experience and empathy you may feel. Maybe I should have kept that mistake and allowed trolls to feel like they accomplished something by correcting me. Really? Maybe if I... Damn it, okay fine. Let's see how the game relates to people. I'm sure there are many of us who have lost a best friend, a parent, or have been going through hard times. The use of common hardships aids in immersing the player into a captivating story, especially if you experience those hardships in your own life. However, the fact that this game has a relatable story isn't why it connects. LIS uses complex branching dialogue trees to make the story feel less linear and makes the story more engaging. Life is Strange specifically makes use of a rewind game mechanic, which allows players to fix any perceived mistakes while still offering unique branch dialogue and replayability. Life is Strange is able to tap into the human need to change the past for a better future, as reported by recent research in neuropsychology performed by Dr. Moritz and his colleagues. Their paper states that there is a human desire to change the past for the sake of a better future. One relevant theory I want to mention is self-determination theory. According to this theory, people are motivated to fulfill intrinsic needs for autonomy, competence, and social relatedness. Gamers are able to fulfill these needs through the characters they play as. LIS gives the player autonomy by letting the player influence the story and allow them to guide the story based upon unique character responses. and fulfills the player's need for competence by throwing in puzzles and text information that could be used to advance the story in different ways. Intuitive controls also contribute to LIS's fulfillment of a person's need for competency. LIS allows for the perception of social relatedness by allowing players to form parasocial relationships and simulating social interaction. Lastly, LIS allows the player to form parasocial relationships by identifying with its characters in-game. In this case, mainly with Max and Chloe. This allows the player to form a human-like connection. Again, unlike movies and TV shows, these types of video games allow the player to play an active role in the lives of the characters. LIS is also unique for less obvious reasons. When it comes to forming parasocial relationships with characters in video games, it is important for the character to have an established identity, rather than being a customizable character like in Skyrim. We, as players, may influence the story, but the choices we are given as verbal responses are still true to the persona of Max Factor. By making Chloe and Max Payne identifiable and behave in a believable way, the player is able to be drawn into their character's development. How are we able to feel their emotions? All the credit can be given to mirror neurons. These hella awesome cells that inhabit your brain allow you to read and mimic the emotions of others. Part of the reason why Chloe and Max are believable is because of Max's diary entries, where we see more of who they are as people. Max's realistic behavior and appearance allow the player to form an emotional attachment. When Chloe and Max show emotions, we the audience understand who and what they care about. In other words, characters must do more than mimic human form to simulate the illusion of life, which I believe LIS does really well. To summarize this point, a story must contain believable, relatable, and understandable characters, in the sense that the audience is willing to suspend their disbelief in order to have an emotional impact. The emotional responses you may have seen in reaction videos exemplifies the type of attachment a person can feel for a character due to empathy. Many of you may have responded with sadness if you saw Kate jump, or with anger when you saw Victoria post the link to Kate's video on the mirror of the dormitory shower room.
Oh, what a bitch.
People also display different types of behavior due to their parasocial attachments. Fans might share or post pictures of their favorite characters on social media and other places in accordance with Rule 34. Max can be described as an introverted optimist who shows kindness to all. Well, dependent upon the player's choices. Max is smart and is able to use her impressive deductive reasoning skills to solve puzzles, like when she narrowed down the location of the dark room. She is selfless and becomes more confident as we progress through the game. She can also be seen as an archetypal hipster, which I think is actually my type. Anyway, let's talk about Chloe. Chloe can be described as an unyielding, troublemaking punk rocker, who is also brave and extroverted. She is a bit of a loudmouth, like yours truly. However, her loudmouth gives her the power to backtalk, which in turn allows her to get someone to do what she wants. She sometimes has angry outbursts, and is shown to be a bit of a pessimist when Max first reunites with her. Chloe also deals with depression as evidenced by her behavior, and possibly her antidepressants found in the Madsen household bathroom. Chloe also shows that she has trust and abandonment issues, as evidenced by the following.
Why didn't she say anything?
Because she knew how you would react.
And she wasn't much of a friend, huh? Just another person who shits all over me. Why does everybody in my life let me down? My dad gets killed, you bail on me for years, my mother gloms onto stepfucker, now Rachel betrays me.
Chloe, Rachel is missing. Nobody betrayed you.
I'm leaving. See you around, Chloe.
You can't leave!
Watch me. Rachel, wait! Don't go!
She can be possessive and selfish, like when Max wanted to answer Kate's phone call and Chloe wasn't having it. Sometimes Chloe is irrational and irresponsible, like when she skipped school to hang out with Rachel Amber, even though leaving the Blackwell campus was strictly forbidden. Sometimes she blames others for situations that were not in their control in order to avoid responsibility.
Chloe, you can't keep blaming me and everybody for everything wrong in your life. It's so not fair.
Gotta blame somebody, otherwise it's all my fault. Fuck that.
Some of those negative personality traits disappear during her time with Max. like when she offered to sacrifice herself to save Arcadia Bay, clearly demonstrating that she can be selfless. You may be asking yourself, why did I describe both Max and Chloe? Well, that's because it is both of those characters that players most likely formed a bond with, and their personalities are relatable. They are relatable because their personality type or traits might be similar to that of the player. Even their flaws make them relatable, whether it's Max's lack of confidence or Chloe's selfishness. They are especially relatable when they end up changing for the better and fixing those flaws. Their values could also make them relatable to others. The game's use of a personal diary really assists in forming a bond with Max. We see her thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and behaviors, which is pretty rare in video games. These diary entries also assist the player in the process of experience taking, or an imaginative process of spontaneously assuming the identity of a character in a narrative and simulating the character's thoughts, emotions, behaviors, goals, and traits as if they were one's own. It's almost like the player is vicariously living the characters' lives. In conclusion, the reason we feel empathy and become emotionally attached towards characters in Life is Strange is because they mimic human emotion, have believable backstories, display realistic behavior, react to the player's choices.
Maybe there's hope yet for Victoria and me. I'm glad I warned her.
And are relatable. The empathy felt is enhanced by the telling of a captivating dramatic story that the player is able to influence that takes place in a normal modern-day environment. These factors, in my opinion, are also what makes Life is Strange one of the greatest interactive story-driven games of its time. Thanks for watching another episode of Content Analysis. If you like this episode and you want to see more, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I upload. Also, if you want to enter my giveaway contest, in which I will be giving away a copy of the soundtrack to Life is Strange, leave your thoughts on Life is Strange and state that you want to enter the contest in the comment section below.